Good morning, fellow preppers. And if you're on the East Coast or Central Time, good afternoon. I know I have some preppers on the other side of the country and maybe some preppers in other parts of the world. If any of you want to let me know what part of the world you're in, if it's not the United States, give me a holler. Maybe I'll try to touch base with some prepper related stuff for your part of the world. Like how to prep when you live in Australia or how to prep when you live in Russia or I don't know. But today I'm going to right now I'm just going to do a quick video. I was going to do a video on goals, on how important it is to set goals. And then I thought, well, what are my goals? Do I have clear goals? And I kind of realized that I didn't have really a clear list of my goals. So without further ado, here are my 10 goals for the everyday prepper, um, applying to myself first of all. So, number one, food and water prep. Pretty obvious. Got to get your food and water prep. Number two, first aid. Once you have your food and water taken care of, um, keeping yourself healthy, even little cuts, bruises, whether it's more serious broken bones or any variety of health issues, first aid, and you can kind of put like medications and sort of, other um, first aid slash medication slash, health concerns. Keeping yourself healthy, first aid is a big part of that. Medication might be a part of that. I talk a little bit about fitness later, but that's number two. Number three, self defense, being able to defend yourself, your family, your loved ones, maybe your neighbors, defend your preps, defend your self-defense weapons, even, those can be a target of narrow doers additionally. So what type of self-defense you choose, I leave that up to you. Um, Rifles and shotguns and pistols and bow and arrows and crossbows and you have an almost limitless amount of weapons to choose from in the modern free market, for better or worse. So um, I don't have enough experience or really enough expertise to be able to recommend one firearm or the other. I can certainly say that there will be bad people on the street that do have firearms. So in that sense, um, I think it makes sense to prepare for sort of like worst case scenario, people that have um, malintent, on their mind. Number four, power. Um, Generally generating electricity. Important for a lot of reasons. I talked about it in one of my previous videos, so I won't elaborate, but um, get your power set up. Generating power and storing power being the two main things. Number five, communications. There will be a few people with CB radios and shit hits the fan, I promise you. There will be people with solar and people with batteries, and uh, they will likely be sharing some sort of information. Who knows what it'll be, but you're not going to know if you can't hear it. So, communications. That's kind of, ham radio is sort of a more, you're not necessarily going to need a mobile ham radio. That could be like for your bug out location. So, communications is not just on the kind of long term big stuff like that. It could also be, or long range, it could also be short range, one way communications. Doesn't just have to be electronic either. Could be lasers, flashlights, Morse code, signs in the road. I don't know, pen and paper, even cairns, any variety of communications. But I'm sort of personally thinking electronic communications. Number six, community. Not just your local community, but sort of the prepping community in general. Get involved, in as many ways as you can. And I have not personally been up on this myself as of late. I have looked at some local prepping communities. There's a group out east and there's a group south of me. Both are kind of an hour away, give or take. So I haven't made it part of my regular life to make the trek out to their groups yet. Although they do certainly do some interesting stuff, and it would be good to talk with some other like-minded people. But community, and I will ask the group ask my subscribers and my viewers one thing. Um, how do you feel about starting a prepping community in your local area? Have you? Is it just with your neighbors? Do you pull in people that don't maybe live on your block? Would you ever start a meetup group or put an ad on Craigslist? What are your thoughts about building community, beyond the people that live next to you? I'd really love to hear your thoughts on that. But at any rate, community is going to be very important to our collective survival. So it's just got to be on the list. It can be difficult to, meet like-minded people, but the power of the internet, we really don't have any excuse. Number 7, sustainability. How much food do you store versus how much food can you make? Can you grow? Can you raise? Can you process? Can you hunt, trap, fish? And on and on. My sustainability right now, big goose egg. Uh, you know, I mean, I could hunt a little bit. I guess if I taught myself how to make snares or go fishing, that's somewhat sustainable because you can dig up earthworms for bait and stuff. And sustainable as it is for me to go 30 miles to the ocean, that's a bit of a trek. But my sustainability is basically shit right now. I have power tools that I can't charge. I have basically no rechargeable batteries. I don't have any solar power. I don't have any plants growing. I really don't have any seeds. I have a water filter that's good for a little bit. I have a life straw. That's the only water filter I have. I really need to get a better water filter. But my sustainability is crap. And a lot of preppers might not think first about sustainability, but it's gotta be on your list. Number 8, physical fitness. Just a short video about a crazy bike ride that I had. Um, get fit. There's so many good reasons to get fit. You'll be healthier. You'll live longer. You'll be able to give back to others. You'll be in a better mood more often. You'll sleep better. Your body will help heal itself more. Believe it or not. I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice, but medical advice I would give you is eat well, sleep well, exercise, spend time with loved ones. That's my medical advice for you. And do a little bit of prepping. Helps with the anxiety. Um, but joking aside, uh, do things to stay fit. Get out of the house. No matter how busy you are, maybe you work 40 hours a week or 50, 60 hours a week at a job and it's just exhausting and you can't imagine yourself going to the gym or going for a walk, or maybe you do go for a couple walks a week, but whatever your level of activity is on a scale of 1 to 10, have the goal of kicking it up a couple notches. Um, you know, there are just boundless benefits from being fit, from staying fit. Healthy body, mind, and soul. Definitely, if things get crazy, life is going to be hard in a lot of different ways. So, and for sure, we're going to be using our bodies in a lot more strenuous ways. Collecting water, collecting food, securing things, the amount of mental strain, the physical and mental strain on our bodies during SHTF is going to be enormous. Um, no matter what your mental fortitude is, uh, there's going to be a lot of strain, and within reason, because certainty of life. Maybe if you're on a farm and you got all your prep set up and your chickens and rabbits and cows and everything, maybe you're not stressing too much. But most people, even if they've prepped a little bit, are going to be under duress. So the more fit you can be, the more fit you can get yourself, the better prepared you're going to be for just life. Um, you don't want something like carrying 10 gallons of water 5 miles to exhaust you. You know, you want to be able to. Um, you just want to be in shape. You want to be in good shape. Not just strength, not just endurance, not just flexibility, not just physical strength, not just mental strength. Um, even spiritual strength. Being centered. Being nobody's perfect, and we all get frustrated at little things in life, but your ability to avoid conflict and to reduce conflict is going to be highly dependent on how centered you are. If you're freaking out and you're nervous and you're scared that you're going to run out of water and food and your family's going to starve and you're just always in this sort of heightened state of like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Um, you being that nervous is going to make other people nervous. You know, the more jumpy you are, the more jumpy they're going to be. And they might not have good firearm training. They might not have good trigger control. You know, they might have their finger right over the trigger. So the more centered you can be, it's just going to give you endless benefits in a difficult situation. Number 9, plan B, C, D, dot, 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 Z. Yeah, have alternatives. You can't just, preppers kind of a lot of times will choose their path, the firearm path or the bow and arrow path, the bug in path or the bug out path. I'm going to help my neighbors to I'm a fortress and don't fucking come on my property path, but you can't plan for every eventuality. You can try, and maybe some of you are doing really well at it, but you're gonna have to be fluid. You're gonna have to, and I would almost put on number 9, be versatile, be fluid, be flexible, have multiple options. Multiple options in bugging in, multiple options in bugging out, multiple redundancies and backups. And if you want to generate power, don't just have solar, don't just have one voltage controller, don't just have one human powered thing. Have multiple plans, have contingencies, have options, have the classic saying, one is two is one and one is none. Um, have multiple options. I'll just leave it at that. Have some redundancy. Have some multiple options. Have alternative plans. Be fluid. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. Number 10. Your non-prepper life. That's right. I hope you have a life not related to prepping. Unless you're retired and you're living on the homestead and you're doing the 100% prepping thing, then you're awesome. Then that's the dream, right? But if you're like many of us, you're working or trying to work or improving yourself in a variety of different ways. Um, Prepping is, a part of our lives, but it shouldn't be really our whole life. At least it's not my whole life right now. So whatever your non-prepper life is, making money, paying bills, going to school, friends, family, all the, regular stuff that you do that. Excuse me. Make sure that you're excelling at your normal life at least greater or equal to than your preps. If you're putting 40 hours a week into prepping and you're unemployed and you're putting 5 hours a week into looking for a job, you might want to kind of like rethink that. Or and conversely, if you're putting 60 hours a week into work and 1 hour a week into prepping, you know, number 10 is kind of about balance. Have a good balance. Find your balance. If you have a lot of time and energy, presently I have a little bit more time and energy than income. So I'm doing things like, producing content, kind of organizing my thoughts and goals and priorities in regards to prepping so that when I do have more resources, I'm not blowing them on stuff that it's not relevant to my situation. You know, doing research on self-defense stuff, on first aid stuff, on training, I'll be doing a lot of research on a lot of these other goals, on power, communications, alternative plans, getting sustainable. Um, or, I could be a crybaby and say, oh, well, I'd really love to have a garden, but, I don't have any land right now. Instead, I'm trying to think about how I can generate some power so I can run some indoor lights and grow some indoor stuff. So try to find that balance between your prepping life and your non-prepping life, and don't let one kind of dictate the other. The more you sort of develop your pre-WROL life, the more you can develop your post-WROL life, because stuff's expensive. Bottom line, you need money for stuff. So money, and even money for skills. Stuff isn't the most important thing. You need money for training, and money, not all training has to cost money, but ultimately you're going to be shelling out some dollars for some type of training at some point. potentially, unless you want to go the 100% YouTube training route, which I will leave that to your discretion. But at any rate, those are 10 goals for the everyday prepper. Let me know what you think, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.